Okay, so thanks, Jeff. And I think it's 3 o'clock, so we're going to launch into our keynote speaker. Greg, thank you so much for being with us today. Really appreciate you having on board. I've known Greg for probably at least 5 years or so. Has it been that long? Yes. So I do run an incubator program in San Luis Obispo, and Greg's been a featured speaker with us many times. He has a phenomenal background. Not only is he a startup entrepreneur, he's had numerous successes, and maybe one failure or two, but but that's a good thing.
You've got to have a few of those.
So he's seen both sides. He knows both sides of the story really well. And what's especially interesting about Greg is he also has a background in theater and is just a brilliant storyteller. So it's all about how you tell your story. And Greg is really amazing at being able to break that down and make it digestible and give you some absolute gems of information. So Greg, welcome and thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for setting expectations very high for me. Now I have to try to meet. It's really my pleasure to be here. I've enjoyed working with Judy and in various angel conferences. I always love sort of giving back. I've had terrific mentors, been part of great programs as a young entrepreneur myself, even as an older entrepreneur. And so I really appreciate all the effort that folks like Judy and this group put into things like this. And I've seen a lot of successes come out of this, and it's my honor to be a small part of this. So let me see if I can share my screen here and pull up my slides. Oops, let's see. Hit the share button, there we go. All right. Do we see my slides? Yes, okay. So some years ago, I was asked to give a workshop to tell about my experiences as an entrepreneur and maybe help the next generation learn a few things that I learned. And I thought hard about, well, what is the most important thing I could relay to new entrepreneurs? And I realized that the number one skill I think an entrepreneur needs to cultivate is how to tell a story. Or in other words, you need to be able to get people excited about your project, whether it's investors or management team members you're trying to recruit, or engineers you're trying to recruit, and of course, customers. If you can learn how to tell a compelling story about your company, about your product, about yourself, you will do so much better. And so let me get into what I'm talking about with storytelling. But first, just a little more background on me. I founded my first startup in my 20s when I was young and didn't know very much, but I had a lot of enthusiasm and I knew how to write software. So I started an e-commerce software company back in the 90s. We were in the right place at the right time with the right product, luckily, and we were able to exit nicely from that. And since then, I've been on the management team of multiple startups. If I wasn't the founder or the CEO, then I was on the product side or the technology lead of those teams. And generally in the spaces of e-commerce, online advertising, social media, that world. So I've had 4 profitable exits. I won't talk about how many unprofitable exits, but 4 is a good number. And I'm currently the CEO and co-founder of a company called Metadata Mechanics. We use big data and some modern technologies to help Amazon sellers grow their businesses. I was the entrepreneur in residence at Wasatch Ventures. I've been a mentor at Techstars, Seed Camp, and the Cal Poly Hot House. And former EIR at the hatchery and the hot house there at Cal Poly. So like I mentioned, I've made a lot of pitches over the years. We had to pitch hundreds of investors. One day I added it all up, and we've raised $63 million from top venture capitalists across the country, including Draper Fisher, Charles River, Sigma, IDG, and University, and lots of angels as well. I've had to form partnerships with big companies like Apple, Microsoft, Adobe, and Amazon. And of course, those all required lots and lots of pitching. I've convinced team members to join the startups even before we've had any money or any customers. And that, of course, required telling a story or two about the vision of the company. So lots and lots of customer partner pitches as well. So let's talk about what a pitch in story form looks like. And a pitch in story form, I think a lot of investors and other people who listen to a lot of pitches will agree, if it's in a story format, that it really has the greatest impact, and it stands out as most memorable pitch. When later they're talking about the pitches they've heard, and it can be dozens in a day, the ones that are constructed in sort of a story tend to come to mind the easiest. So, and to illustrate why this is true, I thought I'd start with just a little exercise. And you've probably seen these memorization tricks before, but just take a minute and look at this list of words and commit them to memory as best you can. And then I'm going to ask you to recall as many of these words as you can. So let's just take a couple seconds here to read this list. All right. Now just kind of think how many, if you want to write them down on a piece of paper, you can, but how many of those words can you recall just off the top of your head? Maybe 5, 6, 7. But now, one of the most popular techniques, did you know there's actually competitions of people memorizing things? And one of the techniques they use is putting the list of seemingly arbitrary things into a story. So in this case, my story would be, purple elephant was eating a sandwich when 17 awkward yellow papers came to the house. When they came inside, marbles were offered, which was very kind. 9 papers were cut, which was the right thing to do. Sometimes you should remember to bring a gift. So even though that's a little silly and crazy, your brain is wired in a way to commit those things to memory when you connect them to a narrative, to a journey. So that's the technical reason. So if you look at the history of man, the way we've sort of passed information down from generation to generation, we sit around the fire and the elders tell a story about how not to get killed by the bear. And, we've just sort of evolved to retain and pass on information in these narrative story formats. And even in schools, kids are just gravitated towards stories. I have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old, and they don't give me any attention usually unless I tell them a story or pull out a book or put a funny narrative together, and then I have their full attention, and they'll sit there and just listen. And I think that's because we are naturally wired to be attracted to stories. So if you want to make a memorable pitch, you need to learn how to tell a good story. So what makes a good story? wait, what's a story anyway? So never mind good. What are you talking about when you say story, right? So really a story is a sequence of events from beginning to end. It's a complete journey from A to Z. I should fix this slide. It's A to Z, and you have to connect the dots, A to B to C, and give like a linear timeline of the story. So a story is not a list. It's not bullet points. It's this, then that, then that, then that, then that. It's connected. Okay, so that's a story. So what makes a good story? So if you boil down all of story theory and theater and filmmaking and novel writing, what you'll find is that a good story, a good, compelling, memorable story is essentially these components. You have a sympathetic character, and by sympathetic means you can identify with the character. The character is believable. You understand this person. Oh, look at typo. A sympathetic character on a mission we care about. So what is this sympathetic character doing? Do we care where they end up or how they solve the problem? And who takes a believable, interesting journey. So this is a good story. A sympathetic character on a mission we care about who takes a believable, interesting journey. Okay, so I know you're worried how I'm going to tie this back to your company and pitching and raising money for your idea, but let's tie that idea of a good story back into your pitch. So what is a good startup pitch using this story format? Well, first of all, the sympathetic character. Really, it's your team. Especially in these early stages of a startup, investors care 90% about you, about your team, about your experience, about your enthusiasm, about your insight, about your work habits. They want to connect and feel what you feel and see what you see. They want to have this sympathetic feeling toward you and be excited to be working with you and solving the problem you're trying to solve. And then the mission that they care about. They want to know that you're doing something cool, that you're creating a meaningful impact, that you're revolutionizing an industry, that you're going to change lives, that you're going to redefine the way a certain piece of the business world is going to be done from that day forward. It's interesting. They like to talk about it. And especially angel investors. Generally, angels do it because of the thrill. It's fun. They like to be involved in interesting projects. They don't do angel investing as a primary source of income. So they do it because they like to give back. They like to obviously earn money from their investments, but it's really being a part of something interesting that drives them. And then the third piece is, okay, you've got this cool team, you've got this interesting journey they're about to embark on. Is the journey itself, is the plan believable? Does it seem like they're going to make it? Does it seem like they're looking at the right questions? And is it an interesting journey? So I'm gonna take this framework and dig a little deeper into these things. So first of all, your team. Are you relatable? Are you human, humble? Are you a good listener? Are you easy to work with? You have to kind of strike this interesting balance between, thinking outside the box, visionary, I'll do things nobody else has done before, but still humble and listening and teachable. You've got to be both bold and a good listener at the same time. And the other part of it is, do you really have a real personal connection to the problem or the market? Have you lived the problem yourself? Did you grow up in a certain, in the hotel business? Did you slog it out as a salesperson for years on the front line in some industry? What is your personal connection to the people really experiencing the problem or or that are going to be presented with an opportunity because of your service or your technology. Okay, let's talk about the mission. So a common mistake that I see a lot of investors or entrepreneurs make when they pitch their company is they think too small. They're maybe focused on one particular feature of a product that really excites them, or just a handful of customers. And that's good that you're focused on that early sort of milestone. But what is important as well is, what is the top of the mountain that you're aiming for? You know, what is the grand vision that is meaningful and interesting? And then once you sketch that out, then bring it back down to what your first milestone is and start connecting the dots of how you're going to get to the top of the mountain. But it's really important that you talk about the top of the mountain, because that's what gets these investors excited. That's the crazy journey they want to be a part of. They want to see themselves standing up there with you. So the third component, your plan. So a believable plan. What is a believable plan? Well, what have you discovered from your unique perspective? What data, what evidence do you have that this is a true problem or that this is a true opportunity? And if you don't have that data, you just kind of have a hunch, what's your plan to get that evidence quickly? So is this something believable? Can they really see you accomplishing these milestones, these early milestones, with the resources you have and the money you're asking to raise? And then I like to talk about, sort of using the continuing the mountain metaphor here, I like to talk about sort of base camps. What is the next base camp? What is the next step up the mountain? So first, we're going to mock up our app and we're going to show it to a bunch of people and get their feedback. Or first, we're going to find out how much money companies lose in this particular process and why. And then after that, we're going to develop a spreadsheet that simply crunches the numbers and finds the most salient variables. You know, what are the steps you're taking as you climb up that mountain? And are you trying to climb up too far in one day? Are you not climbing fast enough? You know, what is your plan to kind of go from step to step as you reach that crazy goal that you have for yourself? Okay, so that's storytelling. Now let's see if we can use storytelling to create an awesome pitch. All right, so, and excuse me for being a little silly here, but here's an example of a pitch, pretty typical way people kind of pitch their companies that's not using a story format. Okay, so here's my company that I'm pitching to you. We sell an additive to cow feed that changes the way a cow smells. The additive has no nutritional value and does not affect the cow's health. It is biodegradable, and we manufacture it from strawberry leaf waste, which is cheap. We expect strong demand, and our current customers really like it. We need additional funding to increase production and to expand our customer base. All right, that's a legitimate description of a company. Okay, this is what we sell. This is why people want it. It changes the way the cow smells, so it doesn't smell so bad. We expect strong demand. Like, okay, that's a great description of your company. But now let's try to put this pitch into more of a story format. Okay, I own a ranch and I love cows, but they smell bad. So I invented a patented additive for feed that makes cows smell like strawberries. We want to get this additive into the hands of all ranchers worldwide, so all cows smell like strawberries. Our margins are 90% and the market size is $2 billion. Our 5 test ranchers love it and want more. We need $50,000 to produce and sell more locally. Using those testimonials, we will market to ranchers in the US and secure distribution deals with major feed suppliers. So the team, so I own a ranch and I love cows. I'm making it personal. And I'm adding a little personality and color to the narrative. Cows, I want cows to smell like strawberries. You know, it sounds a little crazy, but you're adding a little character here. I want to get this additive. I've got this plan. I've got this crazy idea where all cows in the US are going to smell like strawberries. So that's the top of the mountain. And I want to get it in the hands of all ranchers. And here's my plan. We just need $50,000. We're going to do it locally, test this out. And then once that works, we're going to get distribution. So I'm painting a picture. I'm a sympathetic character with an interesting idea that's a little bit crazy. And I'm painting a picture of how I'm going to achieve this top of the mountain goal I've set for myself. Okay, so here's kind of a template that you can use as you think about how you want to tell your story and how to pitch your company. So we are blank. We discovered blank, and we want to blanks. Our plan is to blank. That's really the essential components. If you want to write that down and use this framework as you build out your pitch. Now, of course, the pitch is more than 3 bullet points when you get to, when you're pitching investors. But everything from an elevator pitch all the way to a, second round of due diligence, talking to investors as they're ready to write the check, the structure is the same. You're talking about who you are, why you're the team, the right team to exploit this opportunity, what the opportunity is and why it's interesting, and what your plan is to exploit that opportunity. So you see those 3 legs of the stool? We're the right people to do this. This is the right thing to be doing, and this is the right plan to get it done. Okay. So here's another example I thought I'd throw in. So my team and I have been working in restaurants most of our lives. We love the business, but the food waste really bothers us. Okay, so I'm making it a little emotional. This is something really important and we're passionate about, is the food waste in the restaurant business. So we discovered a way to use machine learning to drastically improve food planning, resulting in 20% less waste for our beta users. We're raising $250,000 to increase our beta users from 5 restaurants to 100 in the coming year, and then raise a venture round to launch nationally. So I've covered all 3 legs of the stool. This is why we care. This is who we are. We grew up in this business. We're really passionate about this problem. Here's what we've discovered the opportunity is from a technology point of view, and here are the results that we're seeing. And here's our plan to take this opportunity to the next level. So Jeff, I don't know, do we have somebody there that wants to do a little interactive workshopping on their pitch? Normally when I give this workshop, we'll go around the room and people will write just a quick 3-paragraph pitch. So it's super quick. Think of it like as an elevator pitch, 30 seconds, and just writing those 3 legs of the stool. Who are you and why are you the right people to tackle this opportunity? What is the opportunity and what is your plan? So I'm happy to.
Mark Gaston is willing to give it a go.
Yeah. All right. So why don't you take some time first and just write 3 quick paragraphs, 3 quick sentences. Who
are they paragraphs or are they sentences?
Sentences if you can, but paragraph is fine. I know it's hard to condense everything you want to talk about, especially if your product or industry is a little bit esoteric.
I'm sorry, I was on mute before. We actually have 2 people in the room that are willing to do it, Sean and Jenna, along with Mark Aston online.
Awesome.
So.
Maggie, can we make Mark panelist so we can see him?
Hang on.
Mark's not shy.
Good.
I know that. Mark,
I assume Mark will be talking about Navaga. one of our
I
member
know some
companies.
of you may have questions for me at this point, but let's do a couple. Let's do a couple workshops here on some pitches, and I think that may answer most of these questions. That's been my experience with this.
All right, Greg. So your three names to call on are Mark online, Sean, and Jenna here in the room in Las Vegas.
Will you have them move up to the microphone so we can hear them when they talk?
All right, I'm talking now. Can you see me?
All right, Mark, let's start with you. I can see you. How are you?
All right, well, I was actually trying to type, but let me see if I can just spit something out. And I'm actually the mentor partner to Chris Paris, who is the founder. So I'm going to be Chris Paris since it's his vision and he started this. So as a 20-year electrician managing many projects, I experienced no end of mistaken deliveries due to the orders and material lists delivered to me by all my linemen and foremen on a piece of paper, on a scrap of cardboard, using their vernacular, which someone had to interpret and then turn into a purchase order to a vendor. We experienced tremendous waste and error as a result of that. So I wanted to resolve this, and I looked for a software or an app that would enable my field workers to coordinate, collaborate, and deliver to me one sensible, understandable list using the same language every time to describe the product, and none existed. So being a determined person not willing to give up, I actually enrolled myself into Google Android training school, and I became a Google coder. And using some mentors that I had in large construction companies and large distribution companies who guided me, and with an Indian partner who was my iOS coder, between us over a 4-year period, we developed a purchasing app that enables field workers or any remote worker to pull materials down off a global database containing all of the products that they could possibly buy and update it in real time, so they didn't even have to be together or talk together. And they could deliver that to me electronically to my office, so I now have one accurate list every time that I can send to the vendor. Now, I've partnered up with my buddy Mark Aston, that Startup NV introduced me to. We've now trademarked the name Navaka, and we have an app that works, and we're going into beta right now with our first 2 contractors starting this week. They've already signed the NDAs and are very excited to move forward. And they are already now, from the work they've done, giving us feedback on some additional features that we are adding to the app. And we want to be able to go through a 3-month beta with 5 to 10 different contractors. We're self-financing that because my partner is providing the funding, at which point we expect to go to revenue by 4th quarter, November, December 2021. Our apps are native apps. We want to be able to develop a web app, so we'll be looking for somewhere between $250,000 and $500,000 to finance not just the web app, but also a significant amount of sales and marketing as we grow the business through the electrical contracting industry in the United States. And then we're going to step vertically into HVAC, mechanical, and plumbing, where often the same contractors can now expand into that arena. And then ultimately, we'd like to go into the international markets where English is spoken in so many of them.
All right, great. Wow, that sounds like a very cool project from people who know what they're doing. So what I liked about that, so I love that you lead with the experience you've had in this industry and the problem that you've experienced firsthand. That's awesome. So, and that you've talked about that you are working with industry and you've had mentors from distributors and all these people involved. You have 2 beta testers. So you're really setting up this believable, sympathetic team. Like, we know this problem, we've seen it One note I would add to that is if you can tie that into dollar value. So if you say, you know, $20 billion of this stuff gets purchased every year in the US alone, and you know, we estimate a certain percentage of that is misordered, lost, whatever. Businesses are losing this much money per year because of this problem. And then as you go to the next leg of the stool, you say, imagine, and we can't help but imagining a world where that problem just goes away, where everybody orders parts based on a standardized list and all the communications are smooth and nothing gets lost. And we end up saving businesses this amount of money. And we want to be the people to make that happen, right? So talk about the size of the mountain and then what it would be like to be standing on that mountain. Imagine,
I can do that.
right?
I can do that.
Imagine, put that in your listeners' heads. Imagine a world where nobody writes on a scrap of paper, writes on a piece of cardboard box at the job site ever again. They just pull out their phone and boom, they have the parts they need ordered exactly right. And then I like how you talked about your milestones and then what your plans are. And I, of course, going international, all that, that's great. And it's good that you talk about what your next steps are, that you're raising a certain amount of money. That's great. Name the number and talk about how many users you want to have by when. I would even throw in just a little teaser about your revenue model if you can, and how much of that captured value you plan to make as a company.
That's very good advice. Thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. I will use it all.
Great job. I think you've got a really cool project. All right. Who?
So next up is Sean here in the room in Las Vegas.
John. All right.
My name is Sean. I am the co-founder and COO of highflare.com. We provide a service as a software for everyone and anyone looking to have a robust online presence to help engage your followers, members, by providing tools with a phone app to complement the web-based platform.
All right, I'm going to stop you. I'm going to stop you right there. You jumped to the second leg of the stool. Tell me a little bit more about who you are and what your background is.
My background is in web-based platforms. I'm a conceptualizer. I've been around for about 10 years. This is my third startup. I've had 2 successful exits, profitable, if I may borrow your words.
Cool.
And so this is our third startup. We're in the in the investment stage.
Okay, so let me interrupt you again in the interest of time here. So what gave you this idea for this startup, this new one?
The idea came from privacy, having total control of your management of your content, which is impossible when you're using third-party software or platforms such as Facebook. They inevitably use your information. They hold you hostage. They don't give you your information when you leave. They keep it. You really don't own it. We provide a platform where anyone and everyone can create a social network and have 100% total control of their content and information.
Okay, and how did you discover this as a problem?
This problem has been around for a long, long time. There's been articles that go back since the inception of Facebook, where people are finding that their photos are being used online.
And why do you care about it?
Well, because I'm a victim of it myself.
Okay, there's our first stool, there's the first leg of the stool. See, now this is where you build your sympathetic character, okay? And pardon me for just jumping quickly ahead here and being a little pushy, but this is where you need to start, okay? You need to say, I had my private information stolen, or I could not recover X. I am a user of Facebook and all these social media places, and I am finally fed up with not being able to have control over my life. Now, I'm a software developer. I'm a web experience designer. And I said, that's enough. There's got to be a solution to this. And so my colleagues and I came up with an idea that could help solve this problem that affects millions of people in the US alone. And here's what we plan to do. And imagine a world where you can use these sites and you can get this kind of privacy, this kind of control of your data, and still enjoy all the benefits of these social networks. We're passionate about enjoying all the benefits of being connected to all these people, but without these crazy risks. And so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna launch this app where it's gonna have these features. We're at this stage of the process. We've raised this much money. Here's the big questions we need to find out. And this is how we're gonna find out the answers to those questions. We need this amount of money, and we're gonna, once we get those answers, we're gonna blow it out, and we're gonna go to an A round. And you see what I'm saying? Do you see how I'm connecting the dots between a personal passion, opportunity that you and your team have identified? You have the skills and capacity to solve this problem. You have the track record of success to do it, and you have a plan that you believe in.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm just going to cut you off right there. I think that's a really cool space to be in. And I personally want to know more about your project, because that's very
Our clients.
of interest to me personally as well. So I'm sorry to cut you off short there. I just want to go to the one last person, and then we can wrap this.
We also have Jenna here.
Yeah.
She's walking up right now.
All right.
Hi,
Hi.
my name is Jenna Gifford, and I am the owner and founder of Free Love Organics, a organic granola company based in Las Vegas. So I started baking back in 2010, and I was embarking upon a healing journey. I saw a trend in the food industry where everything on the shelves was filled with highly processed ingredients, loaded with sugars, packed with preservatives. And I witnessed friends and family becoming chronically sick with illnesses that doctors couldn't cure. So it was a very scary time, and I believe the body, mind, and spirit are all connected, and it starts with what you eat. So I started an organic superfood craft granola company based in Las Vegas, and I started at the farmers markets. I quickly outgrew that, and I moved into a commercial kitchen. And my granola is vegan, gluten-free, sugar-free, non-GMO, and you guessed it, organic. It's packed with nutrients, made in small batches for quality control. Oh, and did I mention it seriously tastes amazing? My goal and plan is to be in grocery stores across the country and to change the stigma that healthy snacks don't taste good. I've already started working with independents through the Las Vegas area.
All right. What's your next step, and how much money do you need?
So my next step is to expand my kitchen. I can only basically bake so much. So I'd like to move into a bigger facility and redo my packaging as well, so that I can have all my certifications on the packaging, and looking for 200,000.
All right, there's the number I'm looking for. Okay, so, and tell me a bit about your background again.
So I've been in the food and beverage industry in Las Vegas for the past 10 years. And
Can you be more specific?
I worked in restaurants, nightlife, and I quickly became a foodie because we have so many great restaurants here. And I realized that the products on the shelves didn't taste good. They taste processed, and they were full of chemicals. So I started creating my own, and people started catching on, saying that they tasted better than everything that was in the stores.
Okay, okay. And how is the product you're working on different from other products in the healthy food category?
So the granola I created is actually sugar-free. It's sweetened with monk fruit, and I haven't been able to find any other granola on the market that is sugar-free. A lot of them say they are, but they have fake sugars or processed other sweeteners. Mine is actually all natural, so no chemicals.
Very cool. Yeah, I have 2 little ones at home, and man, it's so hard to find food that is tasty for kids, especially It's just not loaded full of sugar, you know? So that's super cool. I think so I'm trying to tease out these little points that would stand out, because you know, you don't want to come across as just another passionate foodie with a yummy food product, and you're just trying to drive around getting them sold in stores. You know, there's a lot of stuff out there like that. You got to find that little twist to the story. So monk fruit, like I'm immediately glomming onto this monk fruit, right? You're making a monk fruit. You know, that's going to be what I take away from this. And that's what I'm going to remember driving in the car an hour from now. Oh, monk fruit, you know. You have to find those little salient things, and maybe a personal story about how you bit into a granola bar and it was like biting into, you know, sawdust. And you know what I'm saying? Like, give us some a little more kind of memorable nuggets, you know, if you will, about your story that really sets it apart. And that will help, you know, stick the story in people's minds. So I had to kind of pull out how much money you're looking for, what specifically you are going to be using it for. And I'll tell you right now, a lot of investors kind of have a bias against people that don't come from more of a business world, that you're not going to be able to execute on the sales and marketing. That's just a bias that's out there. It's not true, but it's just a bias. Like, oh, okay, you may understand the product, but you do know how to hustle, you know how to sell. So I would, for all of you folks listening that really have some insights like you do about a product space and about a solution that's not necessarily that is visible to you because of where you stand from a product perspective, I would really try hard to throw in some business keywords: market size, profit margin, the growth of this market, how channels like distributors and independent sales reps and these things, to say, hey, I can do business. I know how to hustle, I know how to sell, and I know this product. Was that useful at all?
I mean, I have all my numbers. I know, I mean, I've been working actually with a mentor who's been helping me with all the sales and marketing, so. Good,
because remember, everybody, that these are business people. This is a business context. And, you know, it's not, you know, it's about finding customers. It's about learning about a market. It's about finding the right solution to a problem. It's about creating an opportunity to grow revenues. And you really do have to structure your pitch in that framework, in that world of customers and growth. So I would add I would take your pitch, which was great, and I can tell you know what you're talking about, and just spice it up with some jargon from business about growth and how much money you need, what you're going to spend it on, and really pull out those couple nuggets of difference, the monk fruit type stuff, your experience, a story from your foodie life that really gives color to that. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Thanks so much. Well, I hope that was useful. I'm excited to hear all your pitches, and I wish you best of luck. I'm a little jealous that all of you are in the very early stages of a new company. That's so much fun, and I know you're going to succeed, whether you build a giant profitable company or you have the experience of a lifetime. So thank you for your time and good luck.